sweet gum balls, one of nature's discards. I'm going to try to show you how to turn one of nature's discards into something pretty. We're going to make pens and jewelry out of these sweet gum balls. Everybody wants to get rid of sweet gum balls, just like leaves. They're destructive, they're a pain. So we're going to show you how to make something out of them. These are pens, key fobs, a little bit of jewelry, pendants. What better to do with sweet gum balls than encase them in plastic? This is a Presto cooker. It's very versatile. I use it for cooking the moisture out of the sweet gum balls so you can stabilize them. You can't have any moisture in wood or anything that you're going to stabilize because then it foams up. So I'm using this Presto cooker for 3 different purposes. One, to cook the sweet gum balls to get rid of moisture. Then I'm going to use it as a vacuum chamber. Then I'm going to use it again to cook the cactus juice. What could be better? You don't have to buy a special container for anything. Put expanded metal underneath the gum balls to keep them from off the heating element. I also cook them for 250 degrees until the condensation goes away on the lid. And after they're cooked, I take them, let them cool a little bit, take them out, and then you can grind off basically rub off the spikes. They're nice and brittle now. You can see. And the next step, after you get all the spikes cleaned off, will be to stabilize them. I do this in the same container. I made a gasket for the top of the Presto cooker out of silicone, so I can use the cooker as a vacuum pot. Nice cast aluminum, heavy duty, so it saves me buying a vacuum pot that they sell. Here's weight down the balls, the sweet gum balls, and then add the cactus juice. That's a brand name from Curtis Seebeck out of Texas. It's what I use to stabilize the gum balls with. Make sure you cover them. And then place them in the vacuum chamber, weight them down, and turn on the vacuum. And I vacuum them for a couple of hours, then I let them sit for 24 hours. That seems to impregnate them. Here you can see them bubbling up, getting the air out. Top is just a piece of plexiglass that I put a connector in, hooked to my vacuum pump. after you're done soaking them, you remove them, let the juice drain off them, and the next step will be to cook them again. You have to cook it at 200 degrees to get the stabilizer to work. You don't want to have any juice dripping down. So I usually set them in another container and let them drain for about a half hour. That way I'm sure that they're pretty much just infused and not cooking the excess juice. Here you see I made a same piece of expanded metal. I wrapped it with tin foil to have something to catch the juice that boils out. And I load the cooker. I do it by hand, that way I don't pour any excess juice in there. Makes life a little easier. When I get it loaded up, you want to cook it till the sweet gumballs reach 200 degrees. That usually takes, I have to usually set the cooker at about 250 and I use an infrared thermometer to get the temperature of the upper layer. And it's about 250 degrees before that temperature makes 200 degrees on the gumballs. Here you can see they're done. They're quite a bit harder and a little bit heavier. So the infusion process works. A word of advice, you have to stabilize these things, otherwise you won't have anything. It'll just shatter when you try to turn them or do anything with them. So make sure you stabilize them if you want to use them for anything. I use 3/4 inch PVC for my molds. In order to get the gumballs to fit together, I flatten the top and the bottom, and then I grind them down until they fit inside the mold. You need to have enough side clearance so that the Alumilite will get down between them. Make sure you blow the holes out, compressed air, before you do anything. You don't flatten the top and the bottom, they don't really fit together well. You got a big gap. So that's the reason I do that. And note, I use 3/4 inch thin-walled PVC for the mold. You can use a square mold. I didn't have a lot of luck trying to get rid of the air bubbles. I had to spin them too, and that's kind of a pain. Here's how I wrap my molds. I don't want any of the resin leaking out, so I kind of fold it over, make sure you got a good pinch point so the resin won't leak out, because I use centrifugal force to get the sweet gum balls to be infused, and that'll really push. You don't want the resin on your ceiling and floor on you. Do a double wrap. I put it on the first time and pinch everything close together. Then I come back with a kind of a safety wrap. And I cut little tabs in it so it folds over better and makes a better seal. That way you have a better chance of not being covered in resin. Here's what when I first started using the centrifugal force, I just used a piece of string, taped it onto the mold. Worked great. The thing about using centrifugal force, if I'm using white because of the viscosity of the Alumilite, it flows a little better, and of course you have shorter working time. So I just got about 4 minutes, so I just use the centrifugal force, spin it for the extra 2 minutes to mix, 2 minutes to spin. That's how I hold them, and then you just spin it. Practice a few times before you do it so you can stop it at the bottom. Otherwise it'll pour out. Here's the way I load the tubes. I put the resin in the tube first, and then I put the gumballs in. That seems to be a better way. It gets into the pores, holes a lot better. Then because the gumballs will float, I use popsicle sticks or a piece of wood or whatever, and I kind of hold them down before I put them in the centrifuge. Here's a little centrifuge I made. It works kind of good for spinning them. Like I say, the white, I just spin them until the white sets, and the clear, I still put in the pressure pot after I've spin it for about 1.5 minutes. You still have plenty of time to pressurize them. That's what they come out like whenever they're done. Here's a pen and a keychain. And here's what happens if you have a chip out on your tube and you want to save the tube. Stick it in acetone with the Alumilite, and it just falls apart. If you use polyester, that'll work too. This is how I made my mold for the silicone mold for the top of the pot. And that's how it comes out. Here I use plumber's putty to seal my tubes before I glue them. Nobody shows you that. That way you don't get super glue on the inside. This is a square mold. You can use the round balls in here too, but you have to make a lid to cover them so they don't float. And then put them in the pressure pot. I still spin them, but then I put them in the pressure pot. Okay, here we have right to left 3 pens made with gumballs. Then there's 5 that I used honeycomb, 1 pine cone, and then 2 more honeycomb. Enjoy.